Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to A Gathering Place, brought to you by the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. It's our bi-weekly talk show where we bring the change makers in and we talk to them, whether it's medical, legal, social justice, business, education, everything that our community needs to know. We are here to bring to you today. And today we have a special show, and it's very timely. It's I Know My Rights. Street law, and we're going to find out what's going on with some attorneys who are going to be teaching about street law, because right now is the time to learn more about the law, and in particular street law. And I myself want to know what's going on with street law. So first I'm going to bring in attorney Kenneth Snow. Hello, attorney Snow. How are you today?
Hey, good afternoon, Marilyn. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. I'm looking forward to this show. And also we're going to bring in attorney Woods. Hello, attorney Woods.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. I want to remind our audience, if you have any questions about our topic today, please drop them into the comments section and we will get to as many as possible today. So we're going to get started. Let me just introduce Attorney Snow and Attorney Woods and give a little bit of their biographies before we get started. So Attorney Snow is from Georgetown, my hometown, and he reminded me we went to high school together, and so we're not going to talk about our ages and everything, but we are experienced people. Let's put it that way. But Attorney Snow is an experienced and committed trial lawyer who has defended clients against high-profile charges such as murder, sex crimes, and drug trafficking. He is a successful Georgetown criminal defense attorney. So we are proud of our hometown attorney here. Mr. Snow also successfully handled over 100 personal injury cases, including wrongful death, child neglect, and drug trafficking. His motto is "We win justice." So we're going to hear about that more today. And Mr. Freddy Woods, or I should say Attorney Freddy Woods, is a seasoned trial lawyer and has over 20 years of experience. And I must say, you don't look like you have 20 years of experience. So bravo to you, with extensive courtroom experience handling criminal cases such as personal injury cases. He is the founding members of the American Freedom and Justice Project, and I'm going to ask you more about that later in the show. And he is a relentless advocate for the legal rights of his clients. So we're excited to have both Attorney Snow and Attorney Woods with us. So I like to get started really basic when I open my shows and I'm learning something new. And I just want to know, to kick everything off, what is street law? And who wants to start? Attorney Snow?
Marilyn, let me say this. First, let me say that my heart goes out to the Floyd family and certainly the victims of police brutality, seen and unseen. As you know, many of things, many cases of aggressive police action are not seen or video. So my heart goes out to those individuals. Let me say, street law is a practical way of teaching law to just regular folk. In other words, we make it very simple for everyday people by teaching this method to them so they'll understand what their rights are, what they should do, approach by law enforcement.
Okay, so why teach it now? I know it's very obvious, but were you planning on doing this before the unfortunate murder of George Floyd, or was this something that just came about because of that situation? Attorney Woods?
Uh, Thank you for having me. First of all, I appreciate you having both me and Attorney Snow on. I know my graphic name is Freddy, but it is Freddy Woods, Esquire. I came in fast and didn't do it the right way, so I apologize for that. But the reason that we are having this program is I had a conversation with Attorney Snow, who's my law partner. And when everything came out with regard to the murder of George Floyd and the subsequent problems that we saw, the subsequent protests, we really wanted to do something that would continue the fervor and the excitement that the young people had for expressing their constitutional rights. So before that, we had done street law series where people could come and ask us just random legal questions that they had. This time, we wanted to do something where it was directly on topic, where people could ask us questions regarding to what are their rights when they're protesting? What are their rights when they want to be able to express their opinion? What do they not we feel at this particular time it's very important to be able to let people understand what rights they have and how to use them properly.
So we're talking about protesters. I'm out there protesting, and I get arrested. What is the first thing I should do?
Well, the first thing you do, and I would tell people this, no matter what they're charged with, I would ask him to remain silent. Certainly not make any statements relative to their actions. I would certainly be cooperative if I were the individuals. Certainly, they can certainly give the police officer their ID, but I would ask them to be cooperative, but yet don't waive your rights. Meaning, you don't have to give police any information as to your actions.
So once that happens, I don't have to give them any information. Would I have an opportunity to call my attorney or an attorney?
You probably wouldn't need to call an attorney at that moment if you're not arrested. The important thing is to not get arrested, to use your constitutional rights effectively so that you're not arrested. You can be able to peacefully protest. You can be able to put what you want on a sign. That's your First Amendment right to free speech. You cannot incite a riot in terms of your speech, but you can be pretty expressive in what you say. So it's about walking the line in terms of using your constitution.
Very good. So before I go out and protest, and we're talking about I know my rights. I understand there's a class that you're going to be presenting. Am I correct on that?
It's a class, but it's also I would say more of a town hall.
Okay.
We can certainly teach it, but we're open to questions. We know that many times people don't have the opportunity to speak with attorneys, and certainly this is the time to get a chance to speak with attorneys and get your questions answered for free.
So
when is this happening? This town hall?
Well, the town hall, I think, is set for, correct me if I'm incorrect, and we have a June 17th date. We also have a June 25th date. I believe that's going to be in Georgetown at 6 p.m. That's going to be the town hall. The 17th is a broadcast date where people can kind of like this format, chime in and give their opinions and views. But the 25th, have the town hall, people come out, bring their families, ask all the questions that they want to ask. And really continue the excitement that's been generated by the movement and generate that excitement into action.
So, Attorney Woods, you went out just a little bit on your audio. Can you repeat those dates again, please?
Yes, it would be June 17th. We're going to do a live broadcast from Myrtle Beach. But on June 25th at 6 p.m., we're going to actually do the town hall in Georgetown.
All right, very good. So anything that the Gullah Geechee Chamber can do to help you with that, to get the word out, please let me know and I'll be happy to do that. So is there a pre-registration that's going to be determined that will be used for this? Do we have to pre-register?
What we're asking is that people will go on to our website, www.Carolina Legal Team. Certainly there's a way of contacting us via that way. We're asking people to register for that because, of course, we want to make sure we can accommodate everyone. Not only that, we plan to have refreshments. We can have food that afternoon, and that helps us to prepare for our family as they come to meet with us.
Very good. So we can go to your website that's on the bottom of your screen, folks, carolinalegalteam.com. Get pre-registered so that they know you're coming, and they'll be offering food and refreshments and some good legal information. So back to our questions regarding street law. We've talked about protesting, but what about the situation that led to George Floyd's murder? What can we know to help us in those type of situations with the police?
The first thing is that you have a right to question the police when the police are asking you a question. You don't have the right to try to hit a police officer or try to do something that's going to make them in fear of their safety. But you can ask questions if you choose to ask questions. You can let the police officers know that you know your rights, that you can say, We are here on this corner because we have the right to peacefully protest. Constitution guarantees us the right to protest. We have, if it's a large protest, you could say we have filed applications with City Hall, that have granted us the right to be able to be here. And beyond that, you don't have to give much more information. It's important to engage with the police and tell them that you have a right to peacefully protest, but not really get into a back and forth in a shouting match.
So I recently was advised a protest march, if you will, in Georgetown, and we did work with law enforcement, just so actually more so for our protection, because there've been some marches in Georgetown, smaller, that some people drove by yelling some offensive things, and most of us didn't realize that. It wasn't until afterwards that the police told us. So we did it for our protection, and I'm glad we did that. But if I just want to go out there and protest, and so it's helpful to know my rights in that context, that I could go down the sidewalk and I could protest. But what is it that I can't not do when I'm going down that sidewalk? Is that something that we need to know about?
Well, let me just say that and piggyback a little bit what Attorney Wood said. One of the things that the bystanders did when they were observing Mr. Floyd is they captured it on film. They captured on video. That probably made the biggest difference in this particular case, because they were actually filming this or videotaping this. And I believe this was done by a teenager for the most part. Other than that, there would have certainly been a lot of different versions of what occurred, but we saw on tape. And what was so disgusting about this, both Freddie and I, Attorney Woods and I, have practiced law for many years. And I can certainly tell you that, in my opinion, representing people who were charged with murder, this was a public lynching of Mr. Floyd. There's no question about that. And so, thank goodness this was on videotape. And now we have really understand what it is to be as Black people in America, potentially faced in America as Black people.
So would you recommend that people start using their cameras more? And I'm that may sound like a very simple question, but from a legal sense, would you recommend that people start, when they see something, just start videotaping?
I would say if you see something that's not right, pull out your camera and videotape. It's a very intrusive way to be able to let people know that, number one, someone is watching, that the world may potentially be watching. And in a lot of cases, it gives police a pause to back up. They may choose to do something more aggressively. Cameras come out. They may back up and say, I don't necessarily want to be on camera. I don't necessarily want to be, the next meme when it's about it. But you have to still remember that the police have a right to not be attacked as well as the citizens have a right to not be attacked by police. So you have to make sure that you're engaging police in a way that's respectful. But certainly, if you see something that's wrong, stand up, use your voice, and say, this is wrong. This is not right. Don't do this. Use your camera, film it. Hopefully, other people will be there to be able to do the same, and give as many perspectives as possible. What we don't want is people attacking police and getting shot because police feel that they're going to be attacked themselves. There's nobody that likes to be attacked in any sort of context. And I also want to make one thing very clear. Even though we're protesting against police brutality, and Black Lives Matter is, and the nation is right now, it's against police brutality, not against all police. Certainly, Attorney Snow and his family, they have police officers who have been in the community for many years. And many other families have police officers that have been in the community for many years. We're not anti-police. We're anti-police brutality. We're not against people's rights. We're for rights, pro-rights, that you use your constitutional rights effectively. And that's what this series is going to be more about. How do you do the right thing in the right way that yields results?
Very good. I did have a pop-up question pop up very quickly, and I'm going to go back to that. But I want to segue from what you just said, Attorney Woods, because one of the arrested officers has already kind of alluded to his defense, and I don't know if you're aware of this or not. But the defense attorney said, "Well, why didn't the bystanders who videotaped, why didn't they jump in and stop it?" And it alludes to what you just said. And is that very dangerous for him to say that?
I think at this particular point, he is trying to say anything that keeps him from being heavily prosecuted for murder or an accomplice to murder at this point. So, but bystanders usually cannot jump in and interfere with the police when the police are acting in their proper capacity. But when police are acting in a capacity which harms or hurts someone or can kill someone, in the example of George Floyd and many others, then yes, I think that the public can make sure that they're vocal in what they say. They can film what they say, and they can, shout to the police, "This is wrong. Don't do this. This person can't breathe. Don't continue down this path." Things like that are things that allow police to kind of pause. But certainly, you don't want to get so involved that you're attacking police as well. It's not an incite to riot. It's an incite to protest, and those are two different things.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that for us. Let's bring Brittany 2's question back up. Thank you very much, Brittany. And her question is, one common response from police, even when video contradicts, is stop resisting arrest. Why do they do that? And what's the proper way to respond? Thank you, Brittany. And anyone, Attorney Snow?
Quite frankly, I would believe in many cases that's just part of their defense, because we've seen on videotape that many times police, the person that's being arrested is not resisting. But that is a way, in my opinion, that they're creating a defense for themselves. And let me say, as Attorney Woods mentioned earlier, I have family members who are in the police department. We're not anti-police, and we're certainly not pitting police officers with a broad brush. But what we do know in this particular system is that there is racism, and that we must fight to eliminate racism or hatred or bigotry in any form. And that's what we're looking to do as lawyers. We're looking to fight for people's rights.
Very good. And it's good to know that we have lawyers out here who are willing to educate us, as you say, the street law to the layman's level, so that we can know if we ever get caught in a situation, we will at least have time to think about it and really approach it in the best sense. I want to remind everyone that you are watching A Gathering Place, hosted by the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. And we have our special guest here tonight, Attorney Woods and Attorney Snow. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. We'll be happy to get to them. Is there anything else you could say? Because right now my mind totally went blank. So, Attorney Woods, anything you need us to know, and it'll come back to me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We have a lot to say, but let me say this: time to time, our office is located on Church Street, and we are part of the community. And we're often having coffee, having lunch. But we want people to know that we're very approachable. And if you see us out, please let us know. And I'm so proud, so humbled to be a part of my community again. Remember, I grew up in Georgetown, and it's been a long time since I've been there, at least lived there. But I am so proud of where I came from, so proud of meeting Marilyn in high school many years ago, even though she didn't remember me. But I am so proud and so thankful that I have the opportunity to come back and represent people in my hometown. And hopefully we can represent you proudly and give back to the community. So we're looking forward to that.
So on June 17th, thank you, Attorney Snow, and thank you for the reminder about high school. But so I understand that on June 17th, you will live stream the Know Your Right street law class. That will be live streamed. Is that correct?
On June 17th, we're going to be doing a live stream from Myrtle Beach, where we're going to do the seminar, the series. But on June 25th, that is the community event. That's the event that we want to encourage as many people to come out as possible. You know, bring your family, bring your kids. We will have activities for kids at that time. You know, bring your entire family out. You don't have to leave half of them at home. Everyone needs to come out and learn what they can do to be able to protect themselves in this age, and learn what they can be able to do to peacefully protest or to assert their rights. Even if you were not protesting, and even if your goal was just to learn what you can and cannot do, you know, out on the street in daily life, this series is for you. This program is for you. This community event is for you. We would hope to have a large turnout. We hope that everyone comes out and enjoys the activities and the festivities and the food that we have there. But we want, more importantly, for you to learn and to be educated so that you know what to do in uncomfortable situations, know how to protect yourself.
Very good. So is this going to be just focused on protesting? If you decide I want to go protest and your rights as if you encounter a police situation, or will be expanded beyond that?
All questions are welcome.
All right, very good, very good. It's good to know that. So, folks, this is a good opportunity for you to get out on June 25th at 6 o'clock at Love Chapel Deliverance and take advantage of this service that's being provided by Attorney Snow and Attorney Woods. So, back to our questions regarding, so what other scenarios, you know, we've had recent scenarios, unfortunately, like Breonna Taylor, who was in her own home sleeping when the police came in, and I don't remember correctly. I don't know if you've been keeping up with this situation also. They had a warrant, but it was for someone else, and they went to the wrong address. What rights? I mean, unfortunately, she was killed, but her boyfriend, he survived and was arrested for protecting his own home. In that situation, how would you approach that situation when you're in the moment? And you're in your house sleeping, how would you protect yourself in that situation?
I can tell you that's a very difficult question. I don't know all the facts in that case, but what we want people to know is that if you ever have a situation similar to that or like that, not only do we handle criminal cases, but obviously we handle catastrophic injury cases, tractor trailer cases, as well as these kind of cases. If you're in a situation or if you have a loved one who you who you feel was unjustly, wrongly killed by police officers or anyone, please reach out to us. Those are the kind of questions we can help you with, cases we can help you with. Obviously, it's a case-by-case situation. In this particular case, we don't know I don't know all the facts. Maybe Attorney Woods may know more facts about that case than I do. But those are the kind of cases we want people to come to us for.
And to expand upon what Attorney Snow said, both Attorney Snow and I each have decades of legal experience, over 20 and 25 years worth of legal experience. We've had very large cases. We've had very difficult federal and state cases for both criminal defense and personal injury. So the reason that we're in the neighborhood now is to represent people who may have been unrepresented or underrepresented, to make sure there's a comfortable place to go when you have questions, or when the police harass you, or you have a legal case, or you need to be defended, in terms of a criminal context, or you need to, you had a car accident and you need someone to represent you. We're there for the community. Attorney Snow is from Georgetown. He wanted to be able to give back. I'm happy to join him in that effort to give back. And when we established an office there for the community to have somewhere locally that they could come. But in a situation like what you had with Breonna Taylor, if someone comes into your home and it's the police, your rights are different than if it's a person that just happens to walk into your home uninvited and unannounced. If it's the police, you have a right to say, what are you doing here? Do you have a warrant? To kind of diffuse the situation a little bit, ask to speak to an officer privately, do those things. And then so that everyone can successfully and, handle whatever situation is occurring in your home. If someone, however, barges in your home unannounced, wielding a gun, you don't have to be as passive. You also have a constitutional right to be able to bear arms and defend yourself. Now, I'm not saying shoot people when they walk in your house. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that you do have the right to defend yourself. And in a context where the police come in your home, you do have a right to question the police. You are not powerless. You are powerful. People just need to know what those rights are and what their constitutional rights are that guarantee them the right to speak.
I want to applaud both of you for taking this initiative. It's very important because things come back to me. And I was in my 20s, right out of college, living by myself in a studio apartment. And the sheriff's department of Richland County came to my apartment 2 o'clock in the morning, knocking on a door, looking for a Lamont Hemingway. And I am no relation to any Lamont Hemingway. But in that moment, 2 o'clock in the morning, I knew enough to get badge numbers. I did let them in because, one, in the fog of waking up, I did ask, let me see your badge. They put it up to the little peephole. And I look back on this now. But anyway, let me tell you what happened. So they put it up to the peephole. I let them in, which is scary in and of itself because it might not have been the police, but they ended up being the police. They checked out some stuff in my apartment and realized they were in the wrong place and wrong person. It just so happens my father was in town for a convention in Columbia that night. Called him that night, and the next morning we were in the law firm of Hemful Pride. I don't know if you know him or not. In his law firm, 8 o'clock the next morning, and it ended up I received a personal apology from the sheriff at that time, whose name escapes me right now. And that's about all that happened. And I look back now on how that could have gone wrong so quickly. But I knew enough, and I do have lawyers in the family, and I think probably just hanging around them, I knew enough that I had some backup, and I needed to get information. And this is why I'm applauding you for holding this class, because there's so many of us that don't have attorneys that they can reach out to or don't know that. So to be proactive rather than reactive is so much better. And I just think about how sometimes it does cross my mind how quickly that could have gone south. Even the fact it could have been somebody who was not a police officer that I let into my apartment. So it's a very scary thing. So it's a good thing that you're being proactive and giving people an opportunity to learn their rights and to use them in those moments when you're in a fog. And it does help. It does when you have knowledge, it actually puts you in a better position. So I applaud you both for doing this. I really do. This is very good that you're making this happen. So what other scenarios should we be aware of as we move forward in this time? There's a societal shift going on. What other scenarios do you think that we should be aware of in our car, in our homes, at work, that something may happen that we need to consider our rights? Attorney
Let
Snow?
me just talk about something you just said when you think you're allowed the people police in your house. Um, Oftentimes, people do allow police officers in their house. If they don't have a warrant, however, using your scenario, your situation, you don't have to allow them into your home. They don't have a search warrant or they don't have an arrest warrant for someone in your house. You don't have to do that. And I would oftentimes would recommend you, would give you, would advise you not to. And I'll tell you why. Let's say you have something you may not want the police to see, not you personally, but you may not want him to see something that's out in plain view. For instance, like someone, let's say your uncle left a marijuana cigarette in your home, and they see that's in plain view. That might open up the door that would allow them to search other parts of your home. So you don't want to do that. I would say to you, you can be respectful, but you never want to waive your rights. So you don't have to allow police officers in your home unless they have a warrant, search warrant, or an arrest warrant for someone who may be in your home.
That's good information to know. So even if so they had a warrant, but it was for the wrong person. So that means they do not have a warrant for my house, even though the address was my address. I know we're kind of drilling down here on it, but
The police,
what makes an official arrest warrant? Go
police,
ahead.
the state coming into your home, you handled it the proper way by making sure to seek legal counsel. They apologize for it. And, in a weird way, that may have been part of what spurred you to activism at this point, So it might have been part of the plan for them to come in there and have the wrong person for you to be able to be the voice that you are now. That might have helped now. But in that particular moment, if they did not have a warrant specifically for someone in your home, as Attorney Snow has said, you do not have to let them in.
Okay. All right. Very good. Good information to know. We have another question. Papa, how do you know if you have been a victim of police brutality? What is within the law versus when they are out of bounds? Can you give us some examples? How do you know you've been a victim of police brutality, other than the obvious that they, obvious? How do you know?
Well, I'll tell you, in the Floyd case, sometimes the video speaks for itself. And in many cases, you don't have to question whether you have been abused. I think we know when we've been abused, when we have been mistreated, when we have, and police have acted overly aggressive towards us. And I would say you will know when it happens. And certainly, if you don't know, please reach out to us, because I would submit to you that if you are cooperating police and you feel that they've handled you with unreasonable force, that is a situation where it happens. And certainly some cases are more apparent than others, but in many cases you will know if they're too aggressive with you. And I hope that police officers will know now that, or at least start in general, their collective minds of how they treat people in this country. They will have they'll make a change in how they treat people and treat people better with more and be more polite and respectful to people.
So do you think in general, and I don't know if you can answer this or should answer it, but I'm going to put it out there. Do you think in general that the police are going overboard right now?
I think what happens is that it's not so much that the police are going overboard right now. The police have been going overboard for a while. You had in the 90s, you had Rodney King, and the police were going overboard. The LA police department, the LAPD, has been a problem for decades. Major cities such as Chicago and New York have had police problems for decades. So I think that now, with the advent of cell phones and smartphones, that it's being recorded more, that people see it more, that it's being shared more widely. You can have an act of police brutality that happens at 9 a.m. that the world can see by 9:10, 9:15, So I think that now it's just being shared more widely, people are seeing it more, and collectively people are getting together and say, yeah, that happened in my city, or yes, these officers are acting in this way. And again, I believe that the police serve an important function. I would not want to be in an area where there are no police, because there are some people in the community that, that would cause harm and take advantage of a lack of police force. But when it reaches the level of police brutality, that's when it needs to be called out. That's when it needs to be stomped out. In the case of Minneapolis, when they have agreed with a veto-proof majority of the council to block any funding and defund the police, it's because they needed to take apart that department, refund a better department, and reorganize it. So that may have to happen in many other communities. There may be a general rooting out of the bad actors in the police department, so that younger police officers will be more focused on community policing. Younger police officers or other police officers who have been on the force for a while might be more focused on interacting with the community instead of looking at it as a us versus them sort of situation.
So that leads me to asking you, Attorney Woods, you founded the American Freedom and Justice Project. Can you tell us about that project and why did you start it?
Yes, the American Freedom and Justice Project started as a couple of lawyers deciding that we wanted to be able to make an impact. And then it grew and expanded, and we joined with other groups, the Freedom Project and a few other groups, to be able to say, all right, we're collectively looking for situations where people's constitutional rights have been violated. How can we be able to help them? How can we be able to take cases that may turn into class action cases? How can we be able to do some good in society? Instead of just waking up every day and working, what can we do to have a large impact? So the Freedom and Justice Project seeks to do that. It seeks to inform people of their rights. It seeks to enforce the rights of others, and it seeks to bring about a better world and a better society where people are expressing themselves freely and where there's more justice in the community. It's just as it sounds.
Very good. Thank you. And thank you for starting that. I think that definitely we need it now. And we've needed those type of programs for quite a while now. So it's good that there's something out there to help us out there. Attorney Snow, I have another question. It's traffic stop. Do we have the right to drive to a well-lit area in view of others as a safety measure? And has a female, I think about that all the time, getting to a well-lit area. And do we have the right to do that?
Not only do you have the right, many law enforcement officers that I've spoken with regarding that issue would certainly welcome that. So what I would suggest to people, if they're being stopped by police and you're concerned about your safety, turn on your flashers, slow down, let them know that you see them. But slow down, obviously, because you want them to know that you're just looking for a well-lit area. And in fact, finding a well-lit area not only protects you, but it also protects the officer. So yes, you certainly have a right to do that, and I would recommend you doing that.
I just read about a scenario that happened where a young lady was pulled over in a parking lot, and someone else started filming it. And actually, the officer asked the person, "Why are you filming?" And she said, "I'm protecting this young black girl." It happened to be a white woman who was filming, who realized and told the officer Black Lives Matter. And it was because that, I guess in her head, she was thinking of that safety factor. And it's sad that we've come to that, because there are police officers out there who are doing the right thing. But unfortunately, those who are not doing the right thing have led to this need for more transparency, this need for videotaping. So I think people are becoming more aware. So do you see that happening, that people are becoming more aware of what needs to be done? And if they are more aware, they need to probably get into your class so they have more knowledge. If knowledge is power. Yes, Attorney Woods.
Taking place now in London, in Berlin, Amsterdam, as well as in New York, as well as in LA, Atlanta, where I was, Attorney Snow and I were recently. There are groups of people who want to be able to support the Black Lives Matter movement. They want to stand against racism. They want to stand against police brutality. And I think it's very important that we understand that the movement welcomes everyone. By that, I mean the movement toward a better world where there isn't racism, there's more social justice. That encompasses everyone. So when we see other people in the other countries standing up for rights of African Americans and Black and brown people everywhere, that's them standing in solidarity with us. We should welcome those voices standing in solidarity with us. The larger the protest, the more people can be involved, the more people can get out and engage in the community, the larger discussion we can have about the scourge of racism and about police brutality, about social inequality, about economic injustice. And these are the types of conversations that we need to be having. So I'm very happy that mostly younger people of all races joined the Black Lives Matter movement in exposing this and standing up for their rights and protesting. And now it is incumbent upon people like us who are a little bit older to be able to take what their energy is and take their voices that they have and translate that into something that's more meaningful, such as political empowerment. We would like to see, and Attorney Snow and I have talked about this, that everyone that comes to the seminar have the option and the opportunity to be able to sign up if they haven't, for number one, to fill out their census forms, because a lot of the allocation of resources is based upon the census report. To number two, to come out, and if you are not registered to vote, you will have the opportunity to register to vote here at that time. When you have the opportunity to vote, you have the opportunity to make your voice heard and elect elected representatives from your community, wherever you may live, that represent your interests. And then they have a voice in the legislation that affects you. They have a voice in Columbia at the State House in what new initiatives would happen, what's the allocation of resources and money, which police officers and police departments get funded, which ones get defunded, and also, what legislation can impact, America. One thing I feel very strongly about is decriminalization of marijuana and decriminalization of some of these smaller drugs, because that is the majority of what young Black and brown men and women are arrested for in America, are drug crimes for little small amounts. And even though there's legislation in 33 states which makes it legal, recreational or medical medicinal form to possess marijuana, South Carolina is one of the 17 states where it is illegal. We want to be able to change that. That comes from people using their voice and electing political leaders who will vote for and will sponsor legislation to decriminalize that. That has a direct impact on the community. So things like that are very important, and we hope that people will learn more about how they can be empowered at our seminars.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that too. Yes, yes, Attorney
If you
Snow.
don't
Go ahead.
mind, just Terry did a real good job at and certainly asking people to take be more active in the communities, and certainly more active in justice. But one important thing that people sometimes overlook is that oftentimes the juries don't represent the population. And I would encourage people, particularly Black and brown people, don't try to avoid jury duty, because we need people who have different opinions, may have a different perspective, may have a different experience to come to and serve on juries. Oftentimes, you may be the difference between justice and injustice. So please don't try to get out of serving on the jury. And many times I've represented people over the last 20 years, and I looked up and I did not have one Black or brown person on the jury pool. And that is disheartening, because usually I'm sitting there with a Black or brown client, and I'm hoping that someone may understand or believe or see from or understand things from his perspective, him or her perspective. And that's important, that we have people of different experiences and backgrounds to serve on the jury.
Very true. And I'm glad you mentioned that, in light of what's been going on recently, and also in light of what happened yesterday on primary day, with a lot of people standing in line. We have a lot of younger folks who are now paying more attention to the political system. And I don't know if you had time yesterday. I do this. I'm on social media a lot because of clients and stuff, and people don't realize it. But I also see a lot of stuff. And what I saw yesterday was a lot of folks who don't even know how the political system works. And that goes towards what you just said, with folks not being on the jury, because one of the excuses we hear when people, I don't want to get registered to vote because I don't want to be called for jury duty. But you should, if you care about your community, you should want to be registered to vote and serve on jury duty, because of what you just said, Attorney Snow, that we need more representation. Because a lot of folks are going to jail for minor marijuana charges, for example. And if we only had more representation, maybe that wouldn't have happened. This is real community impact when we are not fully engaged as citizens. And it's not just about voting, it's about getting educated and informed regarding how the political system works and how the criminal justice system works, and understand that we all need to be engaged citizens. So I'm glad that both of you mentioned that. I also want to say that tomorrow morning I'm actually going to a meeting about Census 2020, and I believe the lieutenant governor is going to be there. So I'm going to be sure that I say some things that need to be said so we could get those numbers up, because it goes to funding of programs that we need to help our community. So I'm glad both of you are very much aware of that. It sounds like you're both activist lawyers, so I'm glad to hear that and support your efforts. I just want to remind everyone that you are listening to A Gathering Place, hosted by the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, and we welcome all of your questions. Please drop your questions now with Attorney Woods and Attorney Snow. It looks like we have quite a few things popping up here. All right, let me see here. We have defunding the police departments when you take monies given to them and place it or a lot of it to other areas that need these monies. It doesn't mean closing the police department. Oh, and that's been popping up more and more. So do you two, have you had time to even think about that or realize what's going on? I know you're both busy.
I have the
Yes, go
funding
ahead.
department, and she is correct. The funding of the police department does not mean closing down police departments, but it does mean taking money from the police department and diverting it into other areas. That is important, but community policing is also important. Having a police force itself is also important, and making sure that the police officers know members in the community. That actually helps to reduce crime. So, for example, if you have a young man that grew up in a community and becomes a police officer in that community, a lot of times he's vilified for becoming a police officer. However, when you have departments that embrace community policing, he gets out of his car, he or she gets out of his car, walks the area, walks the street, engages with the people, knows what happens, knows can distinguish between people who are committing crimes or coming into community and not from there, and the guy that just happens to be walking the street, minding his own business in his own mind space. You know, you can distinguish that and know that that person is not a threat. That might be my friend over there. You know, that's his buddy that he knew over there, or somebody else's uncle or grandfather or brother or friend. And that's what's important with community policing, engaging with the community. When it comes to efforts to defund the police department, again, that is for broken police departments. That is for police departments such as Minneapolis, where something like this, or an atmosphere where something like this can occur. In good policing, the minute that the officer who killed, or as I said before, murdered George Floyd started that, the other police officers should have recognized that as bad police work, not something that represents them, and stopped it. The police chief at that particular time said that he felt that the other officers that were involved, that were standing around, were, in his words, complicit. They were part of the problem at that particular time. So, and he fired them, and those people are rightfully now being prosecuted. So, when we're talking about defunding the police, it's about diverting funds. So she is absolutely correct in that, to something that could be more helpful. But it is also about properly funding a police department that is community based and does good work in the community. Again,
Mm-hmm.
we're not anti-police. We're anti-police brutality. We are not anti-police departments. We're anti-departments who use their power in an incorrect way to suppress other citizens.
Very good. And I think all three of us know that during this political season, when you say defund the police, that's going to be misconstrued. So I'm glad you clarified that for folks so that they understand moving forward. It's not about ending police departments, because we do need the police. And they're here to keep us safe, and serve and protect us. And so they have a place in our society. So I'm glad you gave us clarification on that. And I want to say thank you to Clarice for presenting that question to us. And I want to remind everyone, just drop your questions into the comment section. We have a few more minutes here, and we want to make sure that we take advantage of our time with Attorney Snow and Attorney Woods. And remind everyone to come out online on June the 17th. All social media platforms, they're telling me that they're going to be there. So check out their website, Carolina Legal Team. And then in Georgetown on June 25th at 6 p.m. at Love Chapel Deliverance, they're going to present a town hall. And we certainly are excited about that and welcome that. So y'all drop your questions now and let's keep this going. Regarding the police, do you think, Attorney Snow, that we have a problem in South Carolina with our police overall, or where do you see South Carolina in the general national terms when it comes to police brutality?
Well, certainly, South Carolina is not immune to that. We know from the recent shooting a couple of years ago when the officer um, shot the gentleman, excuse me, I don't remember his name, but the white police officer um, pointed, shot him down like a deer as the gentleman ran away from him. That is certainly not an isolated incident. Um, so, yes, South Carolina is not immune to that, and I believe that exists within South Carolina. Um, Obviously, we're not saying that all police officers are bad, but certainly there are enough bad police officers that, and the ones that are not bad, or maybe quasi bad, they look on and allow this to happen. So, that means that needs to be major changes in police departments if this is not to continue. Can you imagine? I'm sure many of us imagine if that's on videotape. What about the situations that are not videotaped?
Yeah, I think about that all the time. We're responding to the things that have been taped. We know there's a lot more that has not been taped. And I think about that all the time. And how do we even start to address that?
I think one thing that we do is that we have town halls and programs and seminars like this that Ken and I are starting, where people can talk about their issues and talk about problems they've seen in the open forum. Personally, we will be inviting um, uh, any politician that wants to come to this event, any legislator that wants to come and express their opinion or say what kind of work they've been doing in the community to this event, because this event is to educate and inform. And I think when you shine a light on something and it gets a lot of exposure, then it begins the conversation towards healing whatever the problem was. And that's where we went.
And then what's important to
So
understand is that
go ahead.
what's important to understand is we represent a broad spectrum of people. We're inviting anyone who believes in justice, universal justice, not just for white people, but just for black people, but people who believe in a universal justice. So we welcome black, brown people, red people, white people, police officers, Republican, Democrats, independents. We welcome all people who are interested in justice for everyone.
Yes, it's very much an inclusive event. Very much an event that we want to pull in as many different voices as possible. That helps us see perspectives that maybe you may not have, to share a perspective with someone who is not from your political party, or may not be from your race, or may not be from your background. They may have a perspective that they can share with you. We are all Americans. We all breathe the same air. We still drive on the same streets. We are all affected by the rain in the city the same way when it rains. So we need to be a part of the light and a part of the sunshine when it comes out. And I want people to come to this event, wanting to ask questions, to actively engage, and to be about healing the community.
Well, here at the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, we believe Black Lives Matter, but we're all in this together. So we are very much a diverse, inclusive organization. So I totally understand where you're coming from. We got to change this world together. We can't do it in our separate corners. I have time for two more questions, and my first question is: do you do any work with silver forfeiture cases? I know it was struck down in 2019 by the Supreme Court, but have you done any work with civil forfeiture cases? And the reason why I bring that up is I'm going to be calling for an audit of our sheriff's department on how they took the money in from civil forfeitures, and also how did they spend that money, because many law enforcement departments used money from civil forfeiture cases to militarize the police, and we need to know where that money went. But have you had any cases that you've worked with regarding civil forfeiture?
On this pretty directly with regard to um, the when it comes to civil forfeiture, we take on civil forfeiture cases when they're blatant. For example, I had a person, and of course I give no names or anything else for attorney-client privilege, but I had a person that was stopped by the police, happened to have what the police considered to be a large amount of money on them, uh, but it was still less than $10,000. The police took his money, checked his background, found he had no weapons, found that he had no warrants, and sent him on his way, but kept his money.
Mm-hmm.
That happens all too often. He contacted me, asked if there was anything he could do, and without even filing suit, we directly contacted the sheriff's department, directly highlighted what the officers had done, proved that the officers had pretty much taken that money on the scene, and that money was returned to him 5 days later, and with an apology, similar to the apology that you received. So in that scenario, the sheriff's office saw that there was bad actors acting under their badge, and they corrected it. In other cases, it may be a drug forfeiture case where money is seized as a part of a drug bust. And we've represented someone that had a criminal case for a possession with intent to distribute or trafficking or some sort of case. And once we won the case, the department didn't want to give the money back, but they won the case. They were entitled to it. So we filed a civil forfeiture action to receive their money back, and that was successful. So that's two of the examples where civil forfeiture comes in, to where you can be able to get your money back. But there are time limits. There are very specific things you have to do, and there's paperwork that you have to file, and a lot of times court actions and court cases that you have to have. So people need to be educated about that, and they need to file timely. And as soon as there's a case where the police took your money without cause, you should, call us and call our lawyers so we can evaluate the case, to determine whether or not it is a civil forfeiture case, if you have a case, and how we can best defend it.
And I hope somebody brings it up on June 25th, because that is a huge issue, and a lot of people aren't aware of it. They are not aware of the parameters of civil forfeiture, and that it's just wrong and what they're doing, taking cash from people without arresting folks.
One thing we've
So
done
yes, go ahead.
is that Greenville News, and I apologize for
Mhm.
interrupting, the Greenville News did an entire report on it. You can
Mhm.
Google Greenville News civil forfeiture, their report on it. They did a very extensive investigative, very thorough investigative report on civil forfeiture and what money was being taken. And I invite people to read that before they come so that they can be able to better form their question.
Yes, they did, and that's where I've gotten most of my information from. I was aware of it before that, but they did a really good in-depth investigative story series, as a matter of fact, on civil forfeiture. And I've been pushing it with the sheriff. I've reached out to them and have not gotten a response, because in Georgetown, the civil forfeiture cases were 80% were black men. We're 80% black men, and that's a serious issue, and no one's paying attention to it. So hopefully someone will bring it up. And our final question for the evening is the chokehold technique legal? And if so, how do we change that?
Well, the chokehold technique in many jurisdictions may not be illegal, but it's certainly against policy of police departments in certain jurisdictions. But what the move is now in Congress is part of the reform, the bill to reform policing in this country. That is one of the things that they're trying to make unlawful is the chokehold. So that becomes universal that someone who applies the chokehold would be guilty of a crime.
Okay. How do we as citizens bring that to the attention? Do we wait until something happens, or can we make inquiries now of our police departments to see if there's any record of using chokeholds, or is that information even available?
that information would not be available when they use a chokehold, because you have to remember, police departments don't want you to necessarily know they use a chokehold.
Okay.
There are public records that are accessible, but I would say that the best way, not so much looking up um, what police departments have done, but engaging with your legislators to talk uh, directly with the police departments and with including the mayors, to talk directly with the police departments to kind of curb any problems that they've been having and again shine a light on something so that something can start to be done. That's a better way, I think, to get at it is directly speaking to mayors and legislators, highlighting it and trying to find a better way.
Very good. Very good. So, do we have any last minute thoughts from either one of you, Attorney Woods, Attorney Snow, that you want to conclude with our show today?
I just like to reiterate that I am looking forward to working out of our Georgetown office and serving the people of Georgetown and surrounding areas. I'm also looking forward to seeing them on our live stream on June 17th,
17th.
which is next week. Um, and more so, I'm looking forward to seeing my family of Georgetown out on June 25th.
And I'd like to add to that that I definitely want this to be an inclusive event, an event that helps, along with other events, toward ending and eliminating racism in this country, eliminating police brutality. I welcome voices from uh, both the Democratic and the Republican parties. I welcome voices from all races, all backgrounds, all ethnicities, all people, no matter what their station is in life or their class, whether you have a lot of money or you don't have a lot of money. We want you to be able to actively be involved in your community. I'd like to see more people registered to vote. I'd like to see more people use their voice and stand up for things that they know are right.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think that's actually a good way to end our show. And I want to thank Attorney Woods and Attorney Snow for joining us today and speaking about Know Your Rights street law class that they're going to be hosting online on all social media platforms on June 17th. Check it out on their website so you can connect there. And on June 25th, they're going to be here in Georgetown at 6 o'clock at Love Chapel Deliverance. And they welcome everyone to come on down and know your rights class, street law class. So I'm definitely going to encourage folks to be there, and I'm going to try to be there myself because I love to learn more about the law. Because of my activism and things that I do, I've kind of picked up a little bit, but it's always good to know even more. And I want to thank the more than 900 folks who joined us today on A Gathering Place to hear about what's going on regarding Know Your Rights class street law. Know Your Rights street law class, excuse me, happening here in Georgia and online. And I want you folks to go to carolinalegalteam.com, check out this law firm. They've got it going on, has some folks say, and they're out here really concerned about the community. So go to their website, learn more about them, and if you have a need of their services, go ahead and take advantage of that, folks. Attorney Snow, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. All right.
Thank
And
you.
Attorney Woods, thank you too. Thank you for coming today. This has actually been a very interesting, great show. And you folks out there, good questions today. Thank you very much. And we'll see you this coming Sunday at 4 o'clock for the next A Gathering Place. And Attorney Woods and Attorney Snow, I'm going to invite you guys to come back anytime. Y'all want to talk about any legal topic, anything that's happening out in the community that you're concerned about, just give me a call and tell Jackie to call me. So Jackie Williams, I know you're out there. Thanks for making this arrangement. And anytime you guys want to come on, just come on back. All right.
Thank you. It's been a real
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time. And thank you guys for coming out for A Gathering Place. We'll see you Sunday. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
All
Good
right.
job, Marilyn.
uh,